Footy and Frothies, that was the most Vegas music I could find. Daggy and Barney are here with you to preview the two games from Allegiant Stadium. Plenty going on over there. Our correspondent Ollie's having the time of his life from what I can see. Hasn't been arrested yet. Only a couple of Blues with Warriors fans. I don't think Canberra fans have recognised him. So hasn't been shanked. So all positives for Ollie. I see Corey Parker's making friends with Canberra fans this morning. Good blokes. What are you doing, Barn? Hello.
G'day, mate. Yeah, not a great deal, mate. Just living life, getting through each day. Most are pretty good, which is a positive.
Excellent.
And absolutely looking forward to these games. Ran an eye over the trials, didn't watch them too hard. Lost interest here and there, but there was a few good games and a few blokes that stood out that we'll get to later. But yeah, absolutely pumped to. You're getting up nice and early tomorrow and watching all 4 games, I would imagine.
You're setting up camp, aren't you?
Yeah,
watching the whole lot. Yeah, can't wait. It's the Vegas thing. I know Fox and everyone's pushing it quite hard. No mention this year of all that magical gambling money, which was the excuse last year, which suggests it may have been a bit of bullshit. But from the experience, it looks fantastic. The teams look to be having time of their life. I know some clubs are keen to do it next year. Some definitely aren't. Any take on it, or it's just like a bit of a masturbatory bit of fun? If you're one of the team's fans, it's an excuse for a holiday.
Oh, 100%. It's a novel idea. It gets a hell of a lot more eyes on the game than you would expect otherwise. It seems to be working a little bit as well. You look at the NBA and the NFL are bringing some games out here. I know they're going down to Melbourne, but there's a bit of back and forth with the teams flying across from each country, and I can only see it being a positive. I don't think they're going to end up with the kind of cash that they were looking for out of the sports betting market. No. But even if they do get even the slightest amount, that's obviously a positive to the game where they get some sort of money revenue flowing back from the sports bet people once they are taking bets. I do think it'll end up being, I think you'll get quite a groundswell of following out of the US by the time this 5 years is finished. Whether it continues after that, I'm not sure, but it'd be a fantastic junket. I wish I would have been able to get some cash together to go over this year and watch my team, but no, I can only see it being a good thing for the game.
Absolutely, and Super League being on board only helps. Look, I know I sounded like I was a bit of a wanker at the intro, but I think it's a great thing, and like every footy fan I know's set the clock to get up and do the same as you and make it a day. We've had offers. I know Penrith Panthers is planning to be packed full of Panthers fans. We'd be probably doing more if I didn't have a birthday party to attend, thanks to one of the friends of the show. But anyway, looking forward to the day. I think 5-year plan. The plan is for everyone to eventually play at least one game over there, from my understanding. So we'll see how that pans out. Not a bad thing at all. But let's talk about the games. Just interesting, some feedback from Ollie. He said that the English supporters are the most prominent there. There's plenty of them. We're getting Warrington supporters and lots of Warriors Raiders fans. Apparently, from what he's seen, Penrith probably the least supported. But we'll see how this all pans out tomorrow. And let us know what you found. If you are planning to visit, let us know how you go. I know a few other people that did make the trip. So. Looking forward to see how it all pans out. We'll just preview the 2 NRL games. I assume you haven't done any Super League study this morning?
No, not a great deal, mate, no.
All right, we kick off at 11 a.m. Australian Daylight Savings Time. 11 a.m. Sydney time with Canberra and the Warriors. Canberra, Weeks, Tamale, Tomoko, Chris, Savage, Strange, Fogarty, the backline. Horsburgh does start. For at prop, Starling, Tapane, Young, Hosking, Smithies all have gotten over their baseball bat incident. Owen Paddy makes his first grade debut at 14. Sasagi, Papali and Mariota make up the bench for the Waz. Chance, Nickel, Clockstag. Tuapiki gets a wing spot. Lauatiti and Pompey the centres. RTS, Harris, Tavita, Metcalf. Fisher-Harris, captain and front rower. Egan, Barnett, Capel, Niokore. Aaron Clark starts at lock. Interesting there. Dylan Walker off the bench, as is Jackson Ford, Vermaga, and Leka Halasima wraps up the 17. No Tamari Martin, no Denny Levy for Canberra, and no major surprises in either lineup. Barn, how is the NRL kicking off in 2025?
Yeah, with an interesting game. These two probably line up with a pretty even outcome, I would imagine, by the end of this game. The forward pack's where the game will be won, I would imagine. And I think it'll come a lot to that interchange period in 20 minutes either side of half time, generally when the halves start to come to play and the bigger guys are getting a bit tired. I do like Papali coming back to the bench. I think that gives them a little bit more strength at that in that changeover period where there's a few unknowns obviously coming off the bench for the Warriors. I did really like what I saw out of Walker again coming into and being that impact player off the bench for the Warriors. Added a whole heap of spark and different options in attack, which made the Warriors look fantastic during the trials, to be honest.
They like him. They easily could have named him to start, but they want him in that role, quite clearly
absolutely.
in that role. So,
and
fair
they've
enough too.
far exceeded my expectations from them in the trials and looked a much better team. I still do have doubts when they get on the back foot whether they're going to be able to change the momentum and get back into a game. Yeah, I can see this being extremely tough. I think I'm going to put my money on the Raiders. I'm probably going to tip the Warriors, but I think if you a betting play is definitely around the Raiders
because they can $1.60, so.
250 or whatever it is. Yeah, they're a real good shot at that kind of those kind of odds. Tough, tense game for a long period of time. The game changes are the guys I've mentioned. I think Walker and Papali coming off the bench could add. Be big additions for their team. Owen Paddy looked fantastic in that first trial against the Sharks. Not seen so much in the second game that they played against the Young Panthers team, but he looked a fantastic attacking threat at dummy half, especially in and around in that attack line, 20 metres out. Egan and Metcalf will be massive for this Warriors team. They're going to be the two guys that are really going to dictate how the ball gets to these outside backs. Fantastic finishes in Roger out there and Chance Nickel-Klokstad. So, yeah, I think they might just be able to grab an extra try or two and win, 8 to 10 points for the Warriors, but would not surprise if the Raiders got over the top at the back end of the game.
Very good. I'm going the other way. I've liked both Warriors trials, and this year I think we've learnt in the last couple of years from this preseason stuff, just because the trials are televised, we don't necessarily take a lot more out of them than we need to, but I think they've looked fit and I think they've looked well drilled. They haven't made many mistakes, stayed physical, and Metcalf has been a breath even of fresh air at halfback. His controlling stuff's looked pretty good.
It has, yeah.
I agree with what you said about the forward packs. I can see this first 25 minutes, 50,000 people, the forwards just have all of them having their eyes spinning, crashing into each other, and it being a very physical game, possibly the most physical of the weekend. But I've liked what I've seen. I've liked RTS moving back to a wing. Gives him, I think he's got a bit more space and spark out there, and just gives him a bit more of a roaming commission than he had at centre. And I liked, as you said, Egan coming back is massive, and you throw in the crash play forward pack, Fisher Harris there now, but Barnett, Aaron Clark with size as well, and Jackson Ford off the bench. You mentioned Papali, but and I was a bit shocked when I first saw the teams, but it makes a bit of sense to keep some size there, at least for this game. And a huge raps on that Vemega as well. Apparently he's lots of New Zealand spies tell us he's going to be a superstar. So I think Egan's going to have a lot of control around the ruck close to the line. He's going to be involved in a couple of tries. Going to go 1 to 12 for the Warriors, and let's go with one of those crash plays. Mitch Barnett, first try scorer there, man of the match. We'll go with Egan. Why not? And Metcalf to have a very good debut and keep the 67% of people that own him in Supercoach happy straight off the bat. Did he give us a margin and stuff, or?
Warriors 1 to 12. Yeah, I'll go with first try scorer. We'll go with Roger out on that edge. And yeah, loved everything I've seen out of Metcalf to start this year. So we'll go with him as man of the match to get him away with the win to start the year.
Cool. So you're tipping the Warriors, but you think value in the Raiders if you're going to throw a couple of bucks on.
100%.
Yeah. And the main event, we get the Gillaroos play in between, but the main event, 3:30 our time, is Penrith and the Sharks, a top four clash from last year. Penrith step out Edwards. Casey McLean gets the wing spot. Tungo and Garner in the centres, which was interesting. Alamote takes the wing spot with 2-0 not available. Cole and Cleary, the halves. Leota, Kenny, Lindsay Smith. Scott Sorensen starts ahead of Isaiah Papali'i. Liam Martin on the other edge. Isaiah Yeo. Laurie, 14. Papali'i, Eisenhuth and Patea wraps up that 17. And just looking through their extended bench, probably no changes. Can't really see any late changes there. For the Sharks, Kennedy Stone Street gets in with the injury to Katoa, unfortunately. Ramian and Iro, very good centres. Mulatalo, Trendall, Hines. Fanua Blake, club debut. Blake Brayley, two-time player of the year. Hooker once more. Kafusi Nakura. Wilton, McGuinness, the captain. Atkinson, 14. Talakai, Hamlin-Uele, Hazelton. No surprises, really, that aren't injury-enforced for the Sharks lineup. How excited are you to see your boys step out? I know you've prognosticating this might be the season they get their shit together. How's this going to play out, Barn?
Well, they've had their shit together for a few years now, to be honest. They get right up there and then obviously fall over
something up and
once the pressure gets going.
It's funny. I was thinking about the Sharks. Obviously, I'm a little bit more critical of them than others, mainly just to review. But ultimately, it's dumb errors that are the biggest thing holding them back, I would suggest. Apart from possibly Nico's headspace at times. But the ability just to be on top and then drop a ball on the opponent's 30 metres, or one of the wingers just to drop one cold coming back and give away possession at the wrong time is their biggest Achilles heel.
Drop a ball with the line wide open.
Yeah, stuff like that.
And they've been probably competitive and stronger than some teams in the middle. They haven't really blown the middle apart on a huge amount of occasions, which is obviously another addition with Adam coming into the side that can be a bit stronger there. Two fantastically balanced squads. You look through the 17s for both sides here. You've got plenty of skill, pace. Both teams have some very strong defensive structures. You've got some players coming off the bench that can really have an impact as well. All things being said, apparently it's grand final feel, so that should mean that Cleary has man of a match performance and they win by 30, and Nico loses his head and the Sharks completely fall to pieces. But they've got to be out to prove a point here. Really, they've got their opportunity here. They've got the Panthers at probably not 100%. A lot of their big players haven't had a trial to start the year, haven't got a lot of footy in them. I'm sure they would have been training their asses off, but there's a little bit to be said about having that time on the field.
And the two biggest guns are coming off surgeries.
100%.
Fullback and a half.
Yep. Sharks will be looking to make a statement here for the rest of the competition to start the season. So I quite like the Sharks, actually. I think as long as you said, if they can control those errors, especially early in this game, and get the pressure on Penrith in that first half of this game, I think they've got enough in this side to be able to hold them out by the back end of the game. Expect a lot of pressure to be coming at Jack Cole. I know he tore the Sharks apart on his own bat without Cleary last year, but there'd probably be a bit of redemption there coming his way. There'll be a lot of pressure put on the young Casey McLean out on the wing there. There'll be a lot of bombs put up in his general vicinity with Ronaldo coming down, looking to jump over the top of him. Luke Garner for mine's a funny one. I'm not sure he's probably the best option at centre for them.
The thing I can think is they didn't bring any other centres. I was a little shocked by that.
Alamoti's a centre.
Well, I know. I would
have played the other McLean and pushed him in there. But it's probably a defensive play to put him up against Ramian, to be honest, because Ramian can turn a young centre inside out.
I think he's probably played 15 or 20 games for the Tigers in centres as well. So it's not his first time. But he's
a pretty decent defensive centre, to be honest.
Very good line runner. And that, so
I dare say to be to match the physicality of Ramian, because Ramian is one of the more physical centres out there in the competition, and does like to get up in the face of his opposite number. I'm going to go Sharks 1-12. I just think there's a little bit more combination in these halves with Trindle and Hines than Cleary and Cole. Penrith could come out and absolutely demolish the Sharks. I think they've won 1 out of their last 9 games or something, Cronulla against Penrith. But, yeah, as I said, if they're going to make a statement, this is the game they need to do it. So I'll go with Cronulla 1-12. I'm going to go with Iro first try. It's lining up there. In the centres, I think you're going to see both of these teams really throw the ball around. I think you're going to see some real entertaining football. The first 15 or so will be down and dirty in the middle of the field, and then I dare say you'll see this ball zipping from one side of the field to the other. Some early kicks in the tackle counts in and around, short kicks for try scoring opportunities. And yeah, Sharks 1-12. I'm going to go Braden Trindle man of the match, and Kyle Iro first try scorer.
Beautiful. Elijah, do you know your tip? Come around here. Here we go. The Daggy Jr. is going to give his tips for this. All right, can you tell us who's going to win the Sharks versus Panthers game?
Panthers.
What's the score going to be? Hands on.
I don't know.
Oh, that's very good. That's some of Dad's insight there. Man of the match?
I don't know.
Not Nathan Cleary? I'm glad you got you on board. What about Warriors and Raiders?
Warriors.
Who was it?
Warriors.
Warriors. And who's your super coach captain?
Fisher Harris.
Oh, very good. All right, thank you. Some real insight there. Who do I like? I'm actually tipping the Sharks as well.
What are you thinking?
I like them coming up here. I think they line up really well. And I've just, I know it happens, everyone says it every year about Penrith, but you're losing Tuo, you're losing Fisher Harris, you're losing Taruva. That's the best part of 700 metres they've got to find coming out of their own area, really.
Correct.
Throw in the other centre, and it's a lot of work they've got to make up here, which puts
plus a bit of creativity in the middle with Luai.
Exactly. So I think they're just ripe to be picked off here, Penrith, and I like the fact that the Sharks forward pack now has some size. Fanua Blake's probably going to play an hour, and then you get Hazelton coming on and tag teaming with him through that middle period with about 20 before half time. And you mentioned, I think Nikora and/or Wilton can terrorise Jack Cole if they can get him isolated. Both got a bit of footwork. So a lot of the matchups really good. I'm going to go 1-12 the Sharks. Man of the match, Fanua Blake on debut, and I think Nikora first try scorer. It's a big year for Will Kennedy after having, I don't even call it a stinker, but it wasn't his greatest year. Probably went down in a few people's opinions for him, might have been a couple of years ago. And they'll have young Dykes looming. They'll have discussions around, that spectre of Nico going to fullback, I'm sure will come up again at some point. So I think he needs to have a showing here as well. Because if he doesn't, there might be some drums starting to beat. Any thoughts on him?
No, you're 100% correct. There's young fellow sitting in behind, there's two actually, in Ison and Dykes that would be more than happy to take in and step in and take that position. I wouldn't be surprised if you do see Hines go back there for a couple of games during the year, even just to give him a mental freshen up.
And especially got Atkinson on the bench as well.
And get his running game a bit more involved, you know what I mean? Even if Kennedy is going okay. But who knows? No, his last year was probably the worst I've seen out of him for at least 5 years, considering how well he went 2 years ago. Can't be doing that again. He will lose his position if he starts the first 6 to 8 weeks the way he was going in the middle of last year. Especially
if they're not winning. I suppose that's the other thing.
100%.
Blame someone. Very good. That's a look across Allegiant Stadium. I guess I don't really need to ask what's got you frothing this week, do I? Footy?
Not at all. Absolutely. Round one.
All right, let's we won't go through game by game, I think, but very quickly, actually we might, but won't go into detail. Anything catch your eye out of last week's trials? We'll just run through, get you a 90-second wrap on each. The Penrith Reserve grade team put away the Seagulls. Ultra impressive, probably slightly concerning given the amount of first graders that were in the field for Manly. Young Trent Talau was someone we had a tip for from old mate Pat a couple of years ago, and he stepped up there to just show their depth is quite good. Any takeaways from this?
As you said, yeah, massively concerning for the Manly side. They didn't seem interested though either.
No.
To be honest, for at least that first half an hour or so, they really uninterested against this Penrith team. Massive upside for Penrith. Like, you just look at that team that ran out. You could play them as another team in the NRL, and they'd probably go.
Oh, they'd beat a couple of the ones down the bottom 10 weeks in, that's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, no, pretty much everyone in that Penrith team, Cormire, young blokes coming through. The halfback had a fantastic game. Both halves were good, but the 7 really stood out.
Yeah, Talau.
Preston Ricky, both.
Ricky.
No, Preston Ricky was playing back row, I'm pretty sure, but he went extremely well. Yeah, was it Farley? No, who was the half?
Yeah.
Who was the halfback? Yeah, but he went fantastic. Both the wingers look like first class wingers already, and what are they, 17 or 18?
No, Talau 7. Talau was 7.
Yeah, Talau. He was fantastic.
Farley was the winger.
Yeah, but this isn't one that I had. I put a lot of time in, to be honest. Did you watch this one closely?
I watched it, but there's nothing much to take out of it apart from the obvious you mentioned there, that the Penrith systems are very good. Friday night I did watch 30-18 Tigers over the Para, and I thought Tigers could take a lot more out of the game than Para would. I thought Para were
100%.
very sluggish and below par at times. From a Para point of view, Jack Williams looked great, looks enormous, and I assume he's going to be taking quite a few of RCG's minutes as we get into, and he was named in a leadership squad, so obviously Rolls is a fan. I think it might be a bit of a breakout year for him. What else do you
He's always a small forward at the Sharks. The dead set looks like he's put on about 20 kilos of muscle.
He looked wide through the shoulders and the back, but and the raps on Ayongi, probably rightfully so, and that's why he's going to be owned by every player in 50,000 people in Supercoach. So
good on that sweet player, wasn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. So they were the best signs for Para, and I thought the Tigers he ticks for most players. Skelton looked good. The whole forward pack got through their work very well. Terrell May had a bigger shift than I thought, so probably puts to bed my theory that he won't have as many minutes as we suspect. I think he's only playing at least an hour, so he'll probably...
No, he's brought there to be there, man, mate. He is the leader of that pack already. You can see it just in that one trial game. So.
And Fainu Seyfarth, Twila did exactly what you'd expect. Dewey had a great game, and now
Dewey was brilliant.
He'll and I liked him last. If he's fit, I don't mind him in the centres from the point of view he can give you that extra. He's got the biggest boot in that team, so he just gives you that extra kicking option, and I assume he's going to kick goals. So all look good, and Naden looked great until he got injured as well. So I assume once he's fit, he'll be back into this side with Olam disappearing. I just took the narrative that if you're going to throw in Appy, Buller, and Luai to a team, it's worth at least another 12 points. So I know you can say the same about throwing Moses back into Para. So plenty for the Tigers, at least at this stage, to be optimistic about. Charity Shield Dragons blew them away in the first half, took the gas off in the second half for the Bunnies. I thought from both trials so far, what we've said about Gutho and Cook, what they bring to this team's pretty much panned out. Gutho had his hands in most things. He's going to continue this year. Good enough signs for the Dragons from where we thought. I don't know how that pans out for a whole year. I don't know how their forward pack will pan out for a whole year, but blokes like what Gutho brings in is gets the ball into the hands of blokes like Sully and gets very good at isolating. He was very good at doing it with the Canberra centres and obviously with old mate, not Randra. Who's the winger? The big winger that's gone to England. I've just forgotten his name. Ravalawa. No, not Ravalawa. The Parramatta bloke. At the time, we've got Ravalawa now. I'm talking about the one at Para. Can't believe I just forgot his name.
Sivo.
Yeah, Sivo. Very good at isolating him one-on-one on an edge, and I think he'll do the same with this with some of these Dragons outside backs. So, look, as good enough signs as you can take for the Dragons out of these trials, I thought. Barn, what do you make?
Brilliant, yeah. The Rabbitohs are in a world of trouble. Whiten looked okay. Tass looked okay. That was about it, realistically. Oh, and Keon did a job.
Did Keon look tiny to you? How much weight
he did look, yeah, he's trimmed up quite a bit. Mamazulos was okay, as was Duncan, but they look like a reserve grade team up against, this Dragon side that they're playing. They've got every right to be claiming that they're a sniff for the 8. The way, if they can keep playing like that, their attack, so many more options in attack with this lineup. last year they ran around and it was either the crash play or it was Ben Hunt. In this side, you've now got obviously Cook, Gutherson, the halves here and there, the short kicks and high kicks, and yeah, Valentine Holmes has been fantastic. Sully on that right edge looks twice the player as he did on the other side of the field, and yeah, there's heaps of attack out there, yet to really be threatened with their defence. So obviously we're going to see how those structures line up. Good enough with what they have played against, but yeah, this team, they look like a completely refreshed, and if they can keep it together for a big part of the season, they'll be there, asking questions at the end of the year.
Broncos, South. What do you do? They've lost all their guns. Injuries haven't helped. No Aitken, no Latrell, Cam Murray. They have
obviously the effort
issues.
Will go up through the roof from what you've seen in the trials for most of these teams as well, which will add a different level.
Spending a mint of time on this because it'll all change next week when they have points to play for. Brisbane looked very good again against the Bulldogs. We saw Carrigan play through Carrigan and Haas start as props. Allowing Hetherington to play, got through a fair bit of work and looked fair enough in that role. I think Ben Hunt, this will be a weird analogy, but I think Ben Hunt's going to... Remember how it started last year? Jackson Hastings helped Ponga's game a lot by just digging in the line and opening up that space. I think Ben Hunt is going to do the same for Reece Walsh. I know it didn't end, that first partnership didn't end that well, but this will. I think just Ben Hunt opening up a bit more time and space for Reece Walsh is going to be very dangerous. We had all, I guess, said they'll miss the 8. I'm a little bit nervous about saying that now. I think they're a red-hot chance for it. If everyone stays fit.
I had them in 7th.
Yeah, I think it was the bottom of the 8, but yeah. What are you saying about the Broncos and the Dogs, for that matter?
Oh, if they can keep those two halves fit, they're a good chance of the 4, really. Again, like the Dragons,
and Carrigan and Haas need to be
also
fit as well.
Yes, obviously. With Hunt on the field, their attacks, the options in attack just seem so much better. Kicking game is fantastic compared to when they've got Ezra running around in the 6, and yeah, it adds a whole new dimension to that attacking side. The forwards look fitter than they were last year. The whole team looks fitter than they were last year already, come the trials. They played long, they seem to be in the game right up until the end of both trials, which they weren't last year. They were falling away. You could see it pretty much every game where they'd fall away in the last 15, 20 minutes of games. For most of the year, the Dogs, interesting. They really worked over Burton.
He's going to get smashed this year if he didn't already.
And it wasn't just in attack. It wasn't just in defence. They did it when he had the ball as well. They just relentless on Burton, which really slowed down their options and made them try to play different attacking plans. Good enough. They're going to be a very competitive side this year. The forward pack's fantastic. They got in and and took it to this Brisbane side who probably just edged them on the day, but the ball really wasn't getting cleanly out to the outside edges like you could see at different times last year. The defence not up to last year's standard of both of these trials that I've seen. A couple of those breaks that were being made weren't getting covered up like they were last year, but
that'll come about.
Yeah, a few things to work on, but
Connor Tracy's
definitely going to be competitive
from his game.
Yeah.
What do we do with these Dolphins and Titans teams?
I think it's what you're going to see all year. They're going to be a different team from week to week, to be honest.
Yeah. AJ looked great.
Fantastic. Yeah.
He's they've obviously got a player in him, but and I assume him and Campbell. Well, they are going to be the halves now because Foran's missing 3 months. So
yeah.
From
made him play prop. He come off the bench, played prop, and broke his arm after 3 hit-ups. Poor bastard. But yeah, Jaden Campbell looked amazing.
And they're going to have a fantastic platform because the forward pack speaks for itself if they're all fit as well, between Fafita, Fermor, the 2 props, and then a couple of small forwards, Nichols and co. They're going to be fine.
There's going to be games where both of these teams get out to get some points on early, get some confidence, and blow teams off the park. There's also going to be games where they get rolled through the middle, and then they're going to scramble for the rest of the game and probably get run over themselves. So it's going to end up being about who can string, a month, 6 weeks of footy together. These
Pretty
two will
much.
be probably fighting each other. They'll be in that clump at the bottom. Like I said at the start of when we did our preview at the start of the year, this is the closest season I've seen,
Oh,
I think, in my
absolutely.
life. So
Yeah.
these two could run last. They could run 8th.
But it's the same. If the Dragons and the Tigers ran 8th, 7th, 8th, 9th this year, you wouldn't fall off your seat.
Not at all.
Tom Gilbert got through plenty of work. I'm really keen on him for Supercoach. Max Plath played on an edge. They're going to beat some teams. Both these teams will knock up some teams. Both these teams will give away leads and get run down. Both these, as you say, they're sort of quite similar. And it'll be whether they can, as you said, string together 12 points at some point in terms of consecutive games. Unfortunately, I'm not out of all the teams, the Roosters seem to have the most issues coming out of this 48-10 and behind the Knights, who I guess backed their younger players in their forward pack and it paid some dividends here.
Yeah, it showed that at least they've got options in probably the spot that we were most worried about.
Absolutely.
These
Well,
teams.
Thompson, Lucas, Pierce, Paul, and Matt Croker's always been a half-decent player too, better than half-decent. They've all got a bit of footwork. They've all got an offload, and they just can open up some spaces here. I think the Roosters forward pack's in a world of trouble. I really have liked Radley on an edge, as I said last year. Unfortunately, with this cattle they've got, I'm starting to think he has to go back to 13 and just tackle his ass off in the middle because there's not much else in there.
It's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
I did not expect them to be anywhere near as bad as they have been in both of these trials.
Especially because the blokes coming in have played enough first grade where they
you look at that forward pack, that starting forward pack, and they played like they could not give a fuck. Basically, obviously, as I mentioned before, the intensity levels should step up, come into the proper competition, and they might look like a bit of a better side, but their defensive structures were horrible.
Yeah. And as I said, my only thinking is the easiest quick fix is move Radley back to 13 and have him make 45 tackles instead of being what I hope was going to be an attacking weapon. Halves were I know.
But then who do you put on that edge? I suppose you've got Butcher to come back.
And
yeah.
They have to have like they let Terrell May go. They have to think they have someone there.
Yeah, you need a big bopper to come and play 20 minutes in the middle. But that probably does make sense.
I don't think their halves are particularly impressive. Poor old Teddy's going to be just running circles into this turf trying to make stuff happen in his team this year. Of all the teams out of these trials,
he got caught out quite a few times out in the edges as well. Like, don't get me wrong, these two centres can make anyone look silly, but they looked completely confused at times out there.
Anything else for Newcastle apart from Fletcher Sharp is a gun?
Oh, what about that acceleration?
Yeah,
it's completely different. Those first
we've
3-4
been raving about him
steps
since his debut, so
no
surprise.
As a playmaker, if you can get on the outside of someone and attract 2 or 3 defenders in that first 2 or 3 steps, it just makes life so much easier for your outside men. Their outside backs looked strong. They look fit. They looked a lot fitter than they have. Newcastle have been known to fall asleep for 15, 20 minutes, probably twice a game for big parts of last year, with intensity drops and players look like they run around with their ass hanging out. But they did not look that way at all. Obviously, it's a lot easier when you just run it in try after try. But in both trials, they look pretty fit. Phoenix Crossland's massive. I think could be someone that you might want to be looking at Supercoach. If Brayley is on the outer and he's playing an hour every week, he could go back to what he was doing when Brayley was injured, 12 months ago, and be averaging high 60s, maybe 70s. So definitely an option in the hooking position there. But exciting signs for the Newcastle.
And the Cowboys beat the Storm to wrap up the trials in a good outing. I know it was I don't say under strength, but it was the most intense Melbourne outfit I've ever seen. But I thought
they did not care.
No, I thought I like the fact that they clearly did not care. But Mick Innes would have still given Cam Munster man of the match somehow out of that game because
Pretty close
fuck,
to
he
it. Yeah.
blew some smoke that whole 80 minutes up his ass. Anyway, I thought Cowboys looked fantastic. I thought they really looked sharp.
Yeah, and
Duffy did,
Melbourne
and-
didn't get back into it until Cowboys switched off.
Yeah. But Drinkwater looked as good as he ever has. The young Purdue has definitely got something about him. And
Good
Did
footwork.
and Duffy both look great as well. Like they got through and their forwards all did exactly what was needed. So
That's their big pickup. Obviously, we all sort of questioned why they brought Clifford back. They obviously knew they had this kid coming through. He's under 17. He's been the schoolboy Australian 7 for the last couple of years or something. They obviously knew what they had in this kid, and seems very level-headed, very calm, controlled, and precise in what he does. Fantastic kicking game as well, which will only get better when he gets a bit bigger and a bit stronger. So, definitely one to watch over the next few years. I thought he was fantastic and added massively to the attacking options for the Cowboys, which is something that you couldn't say about him the last couple of years. It's been Deed and Drinkwater or pretty much nothing, or Mel
Shady
Holmes
Robson,
occasionally
yeah.
doing something on his own. But
A running spine, but a very good running spine, I think now.
100%. Yep. And I think Duffy can be that guy. He can be that orchestrator and maybe pull him back a little bit and play a bit more structured with his kicking game, and does have quite, by the looks of it, a very proficient passing game. So
I always sleep on the Cowboys, but they actually still finished 5th last year, and the only reason they didn't finish high is because they had that 6 weeks where they couldn't go their own way.
couldn't beat any.
But the rest of the year, they were towering most teams. So
They were.
I'm probably elevating them slightly in my standings. And as you say, I don't think Melbourne really gave a shit. Stefano Wren decoy for most of the game. He had a crash play at the end there, which resulted in a try and made his stats look good, I suppose. You know what you're going to get from Melbourne, so you just, I guess you just move on.
Yeah, the trials completely confused everything that I thought, so I'm just going to throw them all out the window and go back to work and tip the start of the year the way that we did our preview and hope for the best. So.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. Hold on to your seats. But as you said, it is very much the most open year I can
Bateman looked
remember.
interested.
He did look interested, which is a start for Bateman.
Exactly. No, sorry, you were saying?
It's the most. The other thing I found interesting is the Cowboys were actually going to stay in Melbourne an extra week and not train in the heat.
Okay.
I'm not talking about in the Fox thing, but they thought they gassed out early last year because of that, and they're going to try and I guess do a bit of the rest of this last build up in some cooler climes. So see if that helps.
At least he's thinking about it anyway. Yeah.
Well, we did say remember we've talked
about
about them gas. We probably talk about their gas tank more than any other team, really, because I think
Pretty
it's very
much,
apparent when they are or they're not. So he's obviously aware of it too. Lastly, just quickly, a couple of spots left in our Supercoach League. Code is 820551. That's 820551. If you want to jump in for tomorrow, if you see this in time. Anyone caught your eye out of the trials or any late epiphanies you've had in terms of a Supercoach player, Barn?
Oh, well, Duffy will be in 80% of teams, I would imagine, as a backup half now. Because he looks like he'll be starting for this Cowboys team, so you can get a starting half at bottom dollar. There's every chance he makes really good money in the first 6 to 8 weeks of this year. Horsburgh's one that's really firm now, obviously coming in to start.
Now he's
starting
He's
prop.
pretty obvious now, isn't he?
Considering the amount of money he dropped the previous year, because he was punching out 60s and above the year before, and before he's had most of last year off because of a tiff with Ricky by the looks of it, and got himself unfit and whatever. But he's one that's firm back into a whole heap of teams. There's a few guys in and around. It all depend on minutes, but there's some cheap forwards in like Lazarus Vaiupu here for the Storm, Tahua at the Sharks, and Tiakora at the Broncos. Massive bodies, really cheap, 220,000 thereabouts. If they start on the bench and they're getting 20 minutes, half an hour, they're guys that'll probably make you 100K pretty quickly. At the start of the season. But yeah, you're really looking for value. You need 6 or 7 blokes punching out 100, 150 grand at the start of the year. So that's probably what you really want to be concentrating on for the first month or two.
I think Purdue's going to make money as well.
Yep.
Happy with now. I've been pushing Gutho's Barrow, but I saw enough to be comfy with that. I've got Turbo as my other fullback, but if you're looking for something away from it, because I think everyone does, I wouldn't be unhappy with Drinkwater as an option either.
No, 100%,
if you do want somewhere away from that, anyone else obvious? I don't know. It looks like Gazowski's going to start back row, but he's very exposed. And
how long he stays there for is going to be
exactly.
a question mark.
And where else? No, that's about it. I've come back around to those Newcastle forwards, but a lot of them are priced quite high.
It looks like Corey Pakes is going to get first 6 weeks at the Broncos at 232,000 starting hooker. He can't be averaging less than 45 to 50 as a starting hooker. So
exactly,
there's huge money there to be made at the start of the year. Owen Paddy will be interesting how he's used at Canberra, coming off the bench there, how many minutes he might get, but another one at bottom dollar price. So as you mentioned, Gilbert looked good. He was my big spruik last year and then exploded. So I've got him straight in again this year.
Leo Thompson, if he's getting Saifiti's minutes, I'm now elevating to an interesting pod in that front row.
Yep.
But
can score tries, break tackles.
Yeah, but obviously a lot of people are going to just stick with Haas or Terrell or someone for one of those spots, and it's the other one you go to. I think you've probably covered most of that. Young Tamali's debuting for Canberra tomorrow, so there's another base. Adam Dewey. Adam Dewey's going to make my centre spot because I'm assuming he's kicking, and if he is, hopefully he's worth a bit of money there as well. Anything else, Barn?
No, mate, not at all.
Beautiful. Thank you again. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. We'll be back to preview the rest of the round next week and discuss these two games. Enjoy some footy. The audios will be back up hopefully you listen to this, but it will be back up today as well after I've sorted out some podcast hosting issues. And I thank everyone for tuning in, and we'll chat soon. See you guys.
Bye.